Bro, I just started a live video. I was like, man, where's this dude at, bro?
What is going on?
Bro, I had to open the live, waiting on you.
Yeah.
Hey, we were both there. I witness, I attest.
Yeah, that's a rare event, but that took place. Now, I will say I was not floating down the river.
River
That
of
I ran
Dreams.
into with my car. Do what?
You were in the River of Dreams, sleeping?
No, not that kind of river either.
Oh, so what happened?
Well, what's the best excuse in the military?
You're unalived?
Yep, that's the best excuse. So after that, what do you give? Because you don't have any excuses to give.
Yeah, no, there is no.
What? So what's the best answer?
There is no excuse.
Yeah, I know, but there is an answer.
I don't know. What's the answer in the Army?
Well, in the Army, if you're not dead, there is no excuse, but you have to say something. And what you say is, it's my fault.
Sorry, my bad.
Oh my goodness.
Alive next time. Unalive.
Bro, if they were going to take the live down every time we say unalive the wrong way, nobody would be on TikTok. I'm starting to think that word is, everybody takes it too serious when I don't really think they care about that word too much. I think they've moved on to a different word.
Put it to the test. Put it to the test.
I have. I've said it. I've said it.
No. I'm telling you. I looked into it, and what's going to happen is if that word keeps getting used, then AI or maybe a person, they're going to attach it to you, and the next time you say it, they're going to knock you off. That's what they do.
Wow, so we're going to experience the same feelings as the fallen angels that literally, like everybody says, they fell. They flew down. I keep saying, wow, people, read your Bible. Read your Bible.
They cast out of TikTok.
When they say cast out and fell, people literally think that all these angels that were cast out of heaven were just shooting stars, just flying out of heaven. I'm like, wow, that's too funny.
No, see, what happened was they were all walking, and they tripped over a stone. They all fell down. That's what happened.
That stumbling block, bro.
They fell, yeah. They fell down.
Or they just didn't see where they were going, and they just fell off the cliff, and boom, there they go.
Yeah, they tripped. They fell down.
Because the Bible says that he was on the high mountain of God. He was on the mountain of God. So I guess that must be a really high mountain, and he just didn't look where he was going, and his wings were not working, and boom, there he went.
Yeah. Hey, my brother said, if you get unalive, walk it off.
Walk it off. Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
Spit on the dirt when you rub it on. Walk it off.
Yeah. We want that real healing. Nice.
Good morning.
Trey, Trot, what do you have to say about remember when Jesus healed the 10 and only one came back? What's your take on that one coming? Only the 9? No, on the 9 that didn't come back and the one that did come back.
Yeah, and he says, wasn't there this many of you?
Exactly. Can
Yeah.
you give us
Yeah.
your little
So,
intake on that a little bit, if you don't mind?
well, okay. So uh,
Doesn't have anything to do with Revelation, so I'm sure you
well,
won't mind.
I'll, s-
Oh
yeah,
my.
I'll say this. I'll say this. There's, and I actually had this conversation, a few days ago. Um, okay, that verse gets used for certain instances, like certain maybe beliefs, or they try to use it to sway people to one side or another of certain arguments. And one of them is, does God heal today? Talking about physical healing, okay? And they'll say, um, well, if you go pray for somebody right now, that person won't get healed. And you're like, okay. And then somebody else say, yeah, it is. I've prayed for somebody and they got healed. And then so you can use, because they'll say, okay, well, it was spiritual healing. God only heals spiritually. And you're like, all right. And you're like, when God heals people spiritually, and I'm talking about that they're saved, okay? Let's say that somebody is saved. If somebody is saved, do they just run off and don't talk to Jesus no more?
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully they
So,
do.
so when people say, no, it's just spiritually, he heals them spiritually first, or they're spiritually healed, or they never got healed. And it's like, look, one thing we do know is it's always God's will to heal, period. And you try to get that person to at least see that or agree to that. So if someone says, no, it's not always God's will to heal, I was like, okay, fine. Can we talk about Jesus then? Is it always Jesus? Is it always Jesus' will to heal? Well, I'm sure Jesus didn't heal everybody. And I said, no, no. Is it his will? Is it his will to heal? His will. See, every time you see Jesus walking in the Bible, he's either going to or coming back from healing somebody. Every time. So what is he doing then if he's not healing people? That's what it said the Messiah was going to do. The Messiah was going to heal. That's what he was going to do. Excuse me.
It says heal the nations, right?
Well, the thing is, if someone says, "Oh, it's not God's will to heal,"
Yeah.
don't waste your time. It's your choice. But for me, conversation's over. If
Right.
you can't see that it's God's will, it's His will, man. It's His will to heal. And if you can't see that, then I don't know why we're even having that conversation. Like, I got a guy DMing me right now, and he's been DMing me for like, I'm not kidding, man, like 2 months probably. Not every day, but for 2 months. And he's an Islamic believer. And he'll talk about one subject for a little bit and then another subject, and he kind of hops around and he asks questions. But there are some Islamic believers that they really do want to know how can Jesus be God? And he brings that up like probably every few days. And I said, I never told you one time that Jesus was God. He's like, so you don't think he's God? I said, brother, what I said was, I have never told you that he was. I said, so why do you keep asking me, how is Jesus God? And he's like, well, because that's what Christians believe. Christians believe, and again, it's all DM, but I can just hear the way, I can tell what he sounds like because the way he hops on certain things. And I said, all right. I said, well, I guess I'll DM you tomorrow when you have other questions other than, well, why is Jesus God? And so that's how it started off. And after about 2 weeks, he doesn't bring that up anymore. Now he just like ask questions that Islamic believers don't ask. He doesn't ask the same like script. He doesn't, he doesn't ask those. Like the other day, he asked, because y'all already knew that I bring the rod. I'm going to bring the rod. So I said, when we first started conversating, he wanted to go live. He's like, let's go live. Yeah. And I said, no, if you want to learn about Jesus, I said, we could do it in the DMs. He's like, no, man. You could just hear him. He's like, no, man, let's go live. I said, I don't want to go live. It's like, what? Why not? Anyway, the point is, now we talk about Jesus through the DMs. That's just my discernment on the person, and if that person wants to talk, if that person wanted to talk, then we could talk. And so now it's been, like I said, 2 months, and he's not asking to go live. He's not asking, can God create a rock that's so big he can't pick it up? Can God create a square circle? I mean, the ridiculous script questions are not brought up anymore. And the point is, he finally started asking questions like, in the Old Testament, because I started bringing up, I asked him, hey, what rod and staff does David refer to in this verse? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, go find out. So a few days later, he's like, I don't understand what he's talking about, the rod and staff. I said, there you go. I said, now that's a good question. I said, you ask God, what does that mean? And he's like, no. You remember, they kind of like have this attitude that, I don't know, to me, it kind of seems like that they can't talk to God, or maybe they think it's dumb to talk to him directly. I don't know. It's just how it comes off. And I said, well, why don't you try asking him what that means? And he's like, well, all right, whatever. And he'll ask another question. Anyway, so it's really been a good month, maybe 5 weeks, where it's every other day or every few days he'll ask a question, or just, so my personal opinion, most of his questions now, like majority of them, 85, 95% now, are about the Old Testament, but he is one of them that brought up that God doesn't heal the day, and that stuff's not real. And the verse that Jess brought up, where she's talking about, God heals a bunch of people, and Jesus pretty much telling the one guy that came back, hey, where's the rest of y'all? Like, wasn't there more than you? Where's the rest of y'all at? And I use that verse to say,
they fell off the cliff.
Yeah, they fell down. So I use that verse and say, okay, did Jesus heal them spiritually or physically? And it's evidently clear, because Christ hadn't become, unalived yet, but he healed them physically. And you heal somebody physically, it doesn't mean that they're gonna stay or become saved, or and then other people, because is that the instance where he says he made them whole, or was that just one? I think he made one whole. I think it was that one. Yeah, I think he healed all of them, but the one that came back, he made that one whole. I think it's possible. But Derek, what's going on, Derek? All right.
Sorry, did you mention my name?
Yeah, Derek, I was just saying hello. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Having an okay morning. I actually got somebody trying to get a hold of my roommate at the moment, but anyway, you're talking about healing, right? And people having to get the healing.
Well,
or, what does the Bible say about it?
The topic wasn't about healing. There was a question. It was brought up about a specific verse, and I was saying, do what?
May I mention something about healing?
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
Okay, so there's the gifts of the Spirit, right? In the New Covenant, gifts of the Spirit. You got apostles, prophets, teachers, healings, miracles, helps, governments, tongues, diversities of tongues, word of knowledge, word of power. But it says God divides those severally as he wills, right? And so he's not answering to it. He's not answering? No. He rarely does. He holds up in that room for long periods of time. For less than an hour a day. I need my money now. All right, I'll try to knock again. But what I was saying is that it says, do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? When we look at Mark 16:16, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover, that kind of stuff. Does that mean every single person in the body of Christ? It's among the whole of the body of Christ that all begins to forgive. And God divides them severally as he pleases. So yes, so not everybody has the gift of tongues or to interpret or to heal or to make miracles. But those gifts of the Spirit, I strongly believe that they're still active today. Some people believe in a cessation of the gifts, but I definitely don't. They only usually go to 1 Corinthians 13 and 8. I can explain that pretty easily because 1 Corinthians 13 is perfected.
Yeah, hey,
14.
Yeah, Derek. Hey, I don't have anything against everything you got to say, but yeah, we weren't talking about healing. We weren't talking about gifts of the Spirit. So, you can stay up, but I don't know exactly what we're going to get into. I don't want to digress too far because we haven't got on a specific subject yet. But if you sit tight, we'll get on a subject and then we can start, feeding off that one. Okay. So give me a minute to get everybody saying hello. I just brought up a couple of more people. Flip, misunderstood.
Brother
Y'all got
Troy,
something to
Brother
yeah.
Troy, we're going to finish the Leah today.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so,
right.
Brother Derek, I'm so sorry, hon, but how we're finishing that today. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Derek, we're talking about Rachel and Leah in the Old Testament. Like I literally forgot. That's what we're talking about. We were talking about it yesterday. We're finishing up on it. So you can stay right there. You can listen in or not. Your choice. Whatever. No big deal. I don't even know. Where did we leave off?
Well, it kind of got, it was diverted a little bit. And we left off with the explaining of women being barren and what barren truly meant versus what we think in the worldly way.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was Flip? Were you reading last?
Nah, he had to leave.
Yeah, I had a dipset, man. I had a dipset, and then I think I left it up with CJ.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Which the last thing that I have up is we digressed because we got to Jeremiah 5 again, and then Malachus is the other thing I have. Talking about Peter because Mac came in, or whoever came up.
Yeah. Let me see.
I wonder if I go back, I might. Leah's eyes. That was the last one. Tender-eyed.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just kind of pick up. Okay, well, let me ask you this: Where were we reading?
Genesis 29:17 is where she is tender-eyed. That's kind of where we ended, from what I can tell.
Yeah. So so we don't have to hit it like the exact spot because we'll get there again. But because we were talking about how Rachel and Leah are described, right? One is tender-eyed, one is beautiful. Yeah. And it's not a coincidence that Rachel is called beautiful. I understand that it looks like, we're talking about a pretty woman, and that's the story. And the physical story, yes, it's true. Just like it's true that Eden means pleasant. That's what Eden means. So like if we
It
were,
means pleasure. Pleasure.
well, it means pleasure and it means pleasant. It means both. It doesn't mean one over the other. So, do what?
And getting kicked out of the home. It makes sense as pleasure when you understand the whole context of the story of the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, exactly. And so does well, pleasure and pleasant. I mean, it's basically the same word. It's just a different derivative. So it's the same word, you know. But you know, there's only one thing that's pleasing, pleasurable, pleasant, you know, depending on how you use the word. There's only one that's pleasing to him, and that's Jesus. Jesus is the God's pleasure. So that's the whole context of the Garden of Eden, is Christ is it. Christ is the good ground. Yeah. So in the story of Leah and Rachel, if not careful, then all you see is just a story of a man with two women without looking at the Bible as written by God, or like if it was just merely written by a bunch of men that were separated several years within each other, that just so happened to still see things a certain way, and they're able to write it down to where all them years later, here we are reading it, and the God breathed part, the word of the Bible is still alive, right? And so right. Jacob, I know we went over. Jacob wanted to have, and again spiritually with this story, it's a man wanting to have the new covenant before the old, and it's just that's not how the story, the God breathed story, is written. It's not written that way, and it's not written that way for a reason, for a purpose. The first covenant, which was the law, that one was given first because the last covenant becomes the first, right? That which is first is last. That which is last is first. And so when Jesus came, he being the first fruits from the promised land, him being the second covenant, the second Adam, the last Adam, him coming with the inheritance, him, the new wine. It's not a coincidence that his first miracle that we see is him turning water into wine, because he is the beautiful thing. And so that's what Jacob wanted, and he wanted to work for it. And you can't earn the second covenant. The second covenant is given freely, but because the actions of Jacob is working, you know, again, spiritually, the actions of a man is to sweat from the brow for his bread. Christ is the bread of life. Wanting to work for it. You can't work for Christ. Can't earn him. So the first, what?
Can I say something?
You got 30 seconds, Derek. Go ahead.
All right. So you got the fig tree in Revelation, right? And I'm sorry, in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, right? They're supping with the serpent. She sups with the serpent. She sups with her husband. All of a sudden, they're making aprons of fig leaves to cover their nudity, their shame. What tells you what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil? Laws, commandments, those types of things. In Proverbs, it says, obey the commandments of your father and forsake not the law of your mother. A law is, if you do this, this will happen, such as the letter killing, being stoned to death. Jesus, in his triumphal entry to Jerusalem, curses the fig tree and it withers away. If you take a pomegranate, you cut it in half, it looks a little bit like the female anatomy. It's got a cavity, it's got these seeds that look like eggs holding seeds inside of them. If you take a fig and you cut it in half, it looks like little squirmy wormies going through little holes. What I'm trying to say is, if you look at the tree of life, it's a little bit graphic, but if you look at a male and a female together, when he's looking down there together, you got the root structure with some hairs. You got a trunk. The seed comes up the trunk. The leaves and the branches are the root structure. The hairs of the female. The fruit drops from the tree, goes into the ground. Those seeds are planted and makes another tree somewhere. The birds and the bees in Genesis in the Garden of Eden. As far as the knowledge of good and evil as well, women have two outies and an innie. Men have two outies. As simple as that. Shouldn't go in a dirty place.
Brother, what does this have to do, very respectfully, I'm sorry, what does this have to do with the study at hand? Respectfully, sir, the host has already stated what this live is going to be about. The first portion, he advised you that you can stay until this portion of the study is over. Please let the host continue with the study, and when he's ready to segue, he will let us all know. Do you see that all of the panel is muted? It's for a reason. We are respecting the host and how he wants to run his live. Thank you, respectfully.
Okay, so CJ, where are we at in the story where we can actually read it?
I'm at Genesis 29:17.
That's where we ended, at 17. I think we went further than that.
Yeah.
But I think we were further than that. We went back to her being beautiful. If anybody remembers off the top of their head, they can obviously help out.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me see.
Zebulon. Yeah, because I think I don't remember.
Okay, I know we were at the barren part. So
yeah.
We did talk about him working for Leah and then having to get Rachel, and then because I gave the story of my mom being a legalistic person, and she talked about how it's a punishment for him tricking his brother.
Yeah. 90% of people that are like legalistic, they see everything based on the law. That's exactly what you'll hear them say about Jacob. See, he was a trickster, and he got what he sowed. He reaping what he sowed.
It wasn't until his name was switched to Israel that he became a man of God.
Yeah.
That's what the name is.
He was never the same. He was never the same when he wrestled. Yep, that's right.
It wasn't until he got the limp, brother. It wasn't until he got the limp.
Yeah, and when the limp comes, well, they're like, and that's it. Every one of you have a limp.
When the when the limp comes, you have become like Paul. You have the thorn on your side, and you remember.
Yeah, you got the thorn in your side. You got the limp, and God, there's so many avenues. If it wasn't for the limp, you would.
That's living in bondage, man. I don't want the thorn. I don't want the limp. Leave me alone with the Spirit of God in me, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, it was a limp, all right, that he got. And then here's a question: was it Jacob or was it Israel that wrestled with God?
Jacob.
It was Jacob. Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob. Yeah, you hear people see, look at y'all. Y'all are when people start like learning that the Hebrew and the Aramaic, and they're like there's no J. They're like, Jesus' name is Yeshua. There's no J. And I was like, it's funny. I don't ever hear any of y'all yelling at us about Jacob. Y'all let us say Jacob, though. I was like, it's a different language, bro.
No, I had one telling me that the book of James was right. He was right. They changed it. It was Jacob. The name of the book was Jacob, and they put it to James. They put it down as James. What's the difference? It's still the same name.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, don't make no sense. They let everybody else keep their J, but how dare you? Jesus' name is a Yeshua as a Y. It's like, oh my Lord. I said, Bubba, in English, it's a day. It's two different languages. God, nobody's changing it. Jesus is not a Hebrew word. Jeez. Anyway, yeah. So, CJ, let's get to. Let's
31.
see. Is it we're in
31.
31 already?
I'm pretty sure because we already saw that he loved one more than the other. He opened up the womb. We talked about that he opened up the womb of Leah. And now and Rachel was barren because that's where we kind of
there you go. That's where it's at. Yep, Rachel was barren.
32.
Okay, so we already went over barren. But I'm sure we'll go over it some more here in a minute. Yeah, CJ. Yeah, 29, 32. You can start reading from there.
Hey, y'all see I'm using the finger of Trot.
Oh my
What? The what? Hold on, leave it right there.
Oh
what is
my.
it?
The finger of
Trot. Oh my God, bro. Hey, you done turn rabbi on us, bro.
Oh man, yes
Rabbi.
sir.
Hey, that thing. Hey, just so y'all know, hey, that thing's solid gold. They don't make those things out of anything else, bro. It's solid gold. It's deity.
Yeah.
It's deity. For 20 grand, you can get you a trot finger.
Yo, that sounds so funny. Rabbi Andrew, can you show us where we're at?
Rabbi
Right
Andrew.
here. Almost looks like.
Anyway.
Wait, what finger is that?
This is the pointer finger. I hope.
I'm just.
Oh my.
Oh boy, I don't know. You better take a look at that
man.
again. Oh my! Get the
CJ,
red pens
man.
out. Get the red pen out.
Yeah, red pin time.
All right.
That's the religious pointer finger.
Yup.
That's the law. That's the law.
Oh my goodness.
Dre, did you post up
That
yesterday?
stumbling block.
I missed most of yesterday. I missed the last hour and a half because I had to go to work. Did you post it up?
Of Keon?
No, Trot's live yesterday. I missed I missed all of Rachel and Leah. That's where I had to go to work.
Yeah, you got to talk to Trot. He has to download these things, man. I've been on him about it.
All right, heard.
If he don't get the link, he gonna get banned from hosting.
Man.
Rabbi has spoken. Rabbi has spoken.
I was
Thus saith
El
the Lord.
Rabino for you, okay? You call me Bill El Rabino.
Oh.
Rabino. Dre El Rabino.
All right.
Lo que te voy a llamar es el rabo.
Jesse,
all right.
Jesse, real quick, CJ. Jesse, hice un video esta mañana que le mandé tiros a todos los ortodoxos esta mañana.
Mándamelo.
Oh boy. Send it to me, please.
Don't speak in tongues unless there's an interpreter.
Yeah.
You know how
I posted it. I posted it.
I got the interpretation. Get ready. We're gonna get a lot of visitations today.
Dre, let me get on the train for a second here. Let me get on the bus. Dre, dijo el cura bebiendo, aleluya, dijo el cura bebiendo café puya.
My God.
Go ahead, CJ.
Hold on, time out.
Hey, look at Poke Bar. Poke Bar is hilarious, bro. Your brother is way funnier than you, bro.
What do you say? What do you say? ¿Dónde está biblioteca?
That's funny.
What are y'all talking about? What are y'all laughing about, bro?
I'll tell you after the live, bro. You don't want to talk about that on your live.
Coffee, bro. I was talking about coffee.
What are y'all talking about?
Aleluya, dijo el cura bebiendo café puya.
Oh my God.
She said the priest is drinking spiked coffee.
Oh my Lord.
Oh,
That's
it's
your.
not
Hey, I see
spike.
y'all.
It's coffee without sugar, bro. Man,
Man, I
booyah
see
means
y'all, man.
without
Y'all, hey, y'all
sugar.
the, hey, y'all are the two in the back of the church, bro, that just giggling and everybody
Just
can
Oh,
giggling.
hear
the
it.
whole
100%.
time, the whole time.
100%. 100%.
Growing up and the parents coming up to you and taking you by the ear in front of
I used to get
everybody
in,
and pulling you
bro.
into
I
the
used to get in
crowd.
so much trouble when people would catch the Holy Ghost because I would like it would be very hard for me to just keep a straight face as a
Me
kid, bro.
too.
Oh
We
man.
Did
used to
you
call.
did
We
your
had a.
mother
Hey,
did your
hold on,
dad ever
Jesse. We
sit
had a
next to
sister.
you and
Now
pinch
you
you
know
and
y'all
tell you
wrong, right?
Jesse,
Y'all know
listen.
y'all wrong.
Jesse,
Just
we used to have a sister. We were called La Batidora.
yes? And your mother would come and sit next to you in front of all your teenage
Oh
friends and
man.
pinch you and say, I'm gonna get you when we get home.
Man, y'all stayed in disciplina, man.
Oh yeah, I did. I got in trouble a lot, man, for that. Because I was a kid, though, bro. It was like
Bro,
in my
I
mind, I
lived,
couldn't understand what the
yeah.
heck was going on, bro. It wasn't like I was an adult. I was a kid. I was like, bro,
We were
what is
kids,
this?
man. We lived in disciplina.
Yup. Hey, y'all are the reason disciplina started. Yup.
You know how many purple pinches I had on my side, bro? My mama used to
Oh
pinch
my
me and
goodness.
twist it.
God.
That
Stop
twisty
it.
pinch, man,
Stop
and tell
it
you, I'm gonna
right
get you when we get home.
now.
The twisted
Wait till your dad
pinch.
gets home.
I used to pray the Holy Ghost would fall on her so she would forget about it.
Yes.
No.
God. Yup.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. It says give them wine to forget their past.
Oh, you're funny, CJ. My mom would destroy
God.
me if I brought wine to her. You kidding me?
my mom, listen, my mom was so fair with these blue eyes. And she would get red like a tomato, and she would just pinch me and twist it and say, "You're gonna get it when we get home."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and all Jess heard was Holy Spirit activate.
Activate.
Hey, look at
Yeah.
Poke Bar.
It
He
was
too funny,
fine. It
bro.
was
okay.
fine as
What do you
long as she
put?
didn't say, "Hey,
Espiritu
Josh,"
Santo. Yeah.
as long as she didn't say, "I'm gonna tell your dad." If she
Yeah.
didn't tell my dad, I was cool. The minute she told my dad, all hell broke loose.
Oh,
I'm
CJ,
done.
read
man.
the
I'm done. That's
Bible,
fair.
CJ. Read the Bible,
I
CJ.
bring
Read the
Bible.
Bible.
All right,
All
here
right,
we go.
CJ, where are you starting?
I'm gonna start at
32,
31. 31.
31.
All right, so 29. So
Yeah, that's
we're in
fine.
Genesis
31's good.
29, 31. We're just starting there again. All right,
Yep.
send it.
And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened up her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have bore him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left bearing.
All
Read
right.
it.
All right. Let's see. Mm, matter of fact, all this stuff is. Oh man. Okay, so in 30 is when it's pretty much naming the rest of the kids, right? That Jacob had with
Yep.
Leah, Rachel, and the two maidens, right? Each
Yep.
woman having a maiden, right? So each maiden had two. Um, each maiden had two. Rachel had two, and Leah had, I think, six, maybe total. No, I could. Was it five?
Let
Five
me
or
look.
six?
It's a fun.
Yeah, okay, so 30, yeah, I'm right. Yeah, 30 is when these are pretty much describing all of Jacob's son being born from these four women, and then we get into the middle of 30, and this is when Jacob is telling Laban, like, send me on my way so I can pretty much start my life or start my family. And let's see. Yeah, and that's when they make the deal with the cattle. That's where you see the rod being put in the water. And then 31 is when Jacob flees, when he literally leaves Laban. Let me see. And Rachel answers, said to him, "Is there a portion? Here's your father's house." Yeah. So, and then obviously after that,
Laban
that's when
pursued Jacob.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, and then immediately after that is when you have Esau comes back in the picture. But
Laban's like, bring that butt here, boy.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, but the last thing we were talking about is Rachel being barren, and we were comparing that with,
Yeah.
a lot of other women in the Bible. Samson's mother, and there's a bunch of them. It's just off the top of my head. Those are the ones that are coming to mind. But yeah, because it's showing the barren land, not spiritually referring to not being able to birth spiritual children, right? And you see Paul the Apostle calling certain people his spiritual children. He's just referring to the fact that they have been born again. God had opened their eyes, they can hear, right? But spiritually, because as a spiritual baby, the idea is being able to hear the things of God, see them, have conversation about those in your born again you. And so we as the bride of Christ, all of us, we are not barren is the whole point. We are no longer barren. We through us, children are conceived through us, through all of us, but obviously it's through the Spirit, because without the Spirit living in us, then we're still barren without the live Spirit of God, right?
You want me to drop some addresses and names on that real quick? Oh, did you hear me?
I say yeah.
I'm going to. I'm making sure he's still there. Like nothing didn't happen. Josh. I'm going to call him man, Josh. Trot, you still there? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and drop some addresses here while he's figuring that out. So there are stories of barren women in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, basically. And I was kind of going through some of these yesterday again. So I'm gonna read some of the stuff that I have. Sarah in Genesis 11:30, she's one of them. Rebecca in 25:21 of Genesis. Rachel in Genesis 29:31, she's also barren. Hannah, the mother of the prophet Samuel, was another one that was barren. Manoah, the mother of Samson, was one of the ones that was barren. And the great woman of Shunem, which is also called the Shunammite, the prophet Elijah, she was barren in 2 Kings 4:8-44. And also we could include the daughter Zion, whereas the second Isaiah personifies Jerusalem as the second, as a barren, sorry, not the second, I'm thinking about something else, as Jerusalem as the barren woman who had bore no child and never had been in labor. So, and some of the other stuff, if you guys are on the Discord, I also put the addresses of the ones yesterday. I'll put these ones on there as
You
well.
forgot Elizabeth.
I'm talking about the Old Testament,
Oh,
my
okay,
dear
okay.
abuelita.
Oh no,
I
okay.
literally said the
Listen,
Old Testament.
viejito, that's all right.
So those are the ones,
Thank you.
like those are the shadows, basically, is what I'm talking about. These are all the shadows that are in the Old Testament of barren women, that if you read out those stories, you'll see what ended up happening with these barren women as a literal paradigm of of us being barren and then becoming born again and being able to flow rivers of living water and bring other people into having other people be born again through the washing of the feet, which is the gospel. So that's how you can't bring somebody to life unless you have been brought back to life. Go ahead, Taylor. My bad.
No, you're good. I missed like the last 4 trying to write them all in a hurry. If you could
Google it.
repeat those real quick.
Googleology, bro.
Can you send me that in the DM, brother, please, on the TikTok DM, because my
Yeah.
Discord it's in disarray.
Yeah. It's in the server. Taylor, you're on my Discord, aren't you? Aren't you on the Discord?
No, I did never get the invite. I don't think.
All right, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna text it to you, but it's in there already, so you don't even have to write it down. It's just there.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm trying to put all the stuff that we do here, all the shadows on there, and if you're in here, you could help me do that as well. Just continue to throw stuff in the shadows of Christ, so we can always go back and refer to it. Trot, you there? Big dog, little dog, big little dog.
Big little.
Chihuahua.
Taylor, I feel left out, man. I don't think I'm on that Discord either.
It's all right. Don't get
Bro,
in
I
your belly.
posted the link like a gazillion times yesterday in the chat, like a million times.
I'm sorry. No, I was off.
It didn't go to Discord, so that's where I thought you were referencing.
You're breaking up, sister. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, she has 1 bar.
Yeah, she got 1 bar.
There you go.
Thank you, brothers. No, I'm saying that, Dre, I tried to go to your link in your bio, and it says that it's the correct link. So
Yeah,
it kept saying error.
it expires after a while, so I'll have to resend it. I'll DM you the link right now. Matter of fact, give me just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you gotta get more heads up in that Discord, man.
What'd you say, Flip? I'm sorry.
No, I say you gotta get more heads on that Discord that you got.
Yeah, I'd rather have like quality people than a quantity of people, because
Yeah.
that always turns ugly. I've been on so many Discords that turn extra ugly. But I woke up kind of in my belly this morning because I woke up to a video of a Coptic Christian saying he would rather be a Muslim than a Protestant. And that just flipped my wig this morning. I was like, I cannot believe this guy gonna say some mess like that. That's crazy.
Hey, where do you buy your wigs at?
Same place you get yours from. Right on the flea market on Sunrise Boulevard in Broward County.
I don't have any.
And
What are y'all talking about?
if he's in Brooklyn, he'll get it at New Utrecht, New Utrecht Avenue, where all the rabbis' wives go.
What are y'all talking about?
Wigs.
Nothing. Nothing.
Wigs?
Nothing. I said nothing.
To addresses for like the 6 main barren women in the Old Testament, one of them being Jerusalem, which is referred to as a barren woman that obviously comes back to life.
Yeah. Right. Correcto. Which is
Right? Hey, Dre.
What the heck is
You know
going
something?
on?
Hey, Dre.
It's a
Yo,
baby.
Dre.
yo, 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 yo.
Yeah. You mentioned Jerusalem, like the picture of a barren woman, right?
Yeah, yep.
Now, you know what's interesting? I'm sure you guys know. I'm just thought about it because I had some guys come up to me and was like, "Hey, have you heard of Mother God?" And I was like, "Oh, I already know." I was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, look, it says right here in Galatians 4 that Jerusalem is your mother."
I'm surprised they didn't say Mother Mary was your mother.
So, yeah, they tried to use that scripture.
Oh no,
yeah,
that's wild.
yeah. But that's again, I always say, you can't blame them, right? Because before your eyes are open, you're blind. So it's evidently clear what the problem is. Their eyes have to be open. They don't understand what they're reading. And every person was in that state before they became born again. But there's never a stop to this. You don't get saved and because your eyes were open to see who Christ was, and you're like, oh my Lord, like, oh, I need to obviously receive that. That's my Abba Father, man. I need to receive him. But then they don't care to grow any further. And so that's all they see. All they see is that Jesus was the Messiah, and they get saved, and then they become stagnant. And sometimes people have to grow out of their their immaturities. There are people that in this world, there's not a lot of success stories in their life in this world. And somewhere down the line, whether it was a parent, a guardian, or somewhere, there just wasn't someone there to show them or help them understand the walks of life. Okay. And I'll just take it there because it's really quite simple. The walks of life, the ins and the outs, how to get them to stop being green behind the ears, all these things. And then so finally, when they come to the Lord, which is the only father they ever knew, there's some bad habits that they bring in to the relationship with their father. It's not about, Zeus with white lightning bolt, lightning bolt throwing Zeus. It's a relationship. And so they come into the relationship, and obviously God being a loving God, he could care less about all your baggage. He doesn't care, but he does want you to understand him more. And it's hard to, when you've come in to this new world and you're bringing your bad politics and your bad beliefs, and those ways didn't really show you a whole lot in this world, but yet the person wants to use those ways when they come into God's world, and they have to slowly learn that on their own, because God doesn't force anyone, but he gives you that time to figure it out on yourself, that you can't just remain stagnant, not understanding more, just sitting there saying I'm saved, like a little pond, like a puddle that mosquitoes go to make more kids. He said we're rivers of living water, rivers continuously flowing, not stagnant sitting there. We're full of life. But when someone has just been so content in this world with no success, no drive, no push, they can make the mistake and do the same in the new world. So it's like, I don't have to read the Bible. I don't have to. Well, they didn't have to do nothing in this world either. I don't have to do this. I don't have to. So they're not really doing a whole lot in this world. God loves you anyway, but there's no reigning, and God wants us to reign, man. Right. And so you cannot reign from the stance that you're at as a king if you don't truly see that you're a king. I understand that people see that Jesus is king and they get saved, and that's very true, 100%. But now is the time to see yourself as a king, and kings reign. And we're supposed to reign under our king, not have the attitude of the prodigal son who was a quote unquote king in his world with his dad. But he's like, you know what, man, I can eat better just being a servant. If I go live with the servants in my dad's house, I'll eat better than this. So he goes back. He didn't go back with the understanding that he was a king under his father, who's the king of his little place there. He went back just saying, man, I'm just going to be a servant. Like, if I could just be part of the house a little bit, but that's only because the kid did not know who he was. So, you know, the story of the prodigal son literally is about a person who just cannot see clearly, and their decisions that they make are based on that unclear sight, which is everybody. Before you were saved, you got saved. You didn't get a clear sight right away. And if you started getting a clearer sight, it was because you were putting the work in to get that clearer sight. But the prodigal son is about a never-ending loving father that just wants to embrace his son. That's what the prodigal son, the story is, the parable is about. Now, obviously, there's a lot of spiritual things that go into that, but the main point is that he just wants to embrace, us. That's it. Regardless if you can understand or see everything, it is true. Because if you remember, it's the father that put the sandals on his feet. It's the father that put the ring in his hand. It was the father did everything. All the kid did, and I'm going to say he was an adult, obviously. He was at least 18 or older. All he did was make a decision that, hey, I'll be better off being at my father's house. I'll be better off being at my father's house. That's the only decision he made. He didn't say, man, I'm going to go back, be my father's house. He's going to put sandals on my feet. Boy, I'm going to sit back on that throne. His attitude wasn't like that. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that attitude. That's another part where people say you need to humble yourself. Listen, humbling yourself before the Lord only happens one time. It was when you weren't saved and you had to humble yourself and bend the knee and say, hey, man, I can't do this without you. That's the humbling moment. This whole idea where people are trying to keep the word humble as a carrot dangling in front of your face is such a lie. God, the Father cannot wait for people to come to him. And when you come to him and you get born again, the reason that you're born again is because you've humbled yourself. So this whole thing, be humble yourself, stop. Please stop saying that to people. If they're saved, they've already were humble. The humbling part happened. All right. Everybody is learning how to be better and how to act proper, and everybody's doing that. So if somebody's acting in the flesh, and you say, well, you need to listen, you're telling the flesh to humble itself. It's the soul is the one that humbled itself and received life through Christ. It wasn't the flesh. The flesh didn't humble itself. The flesh doesn't know how to humble itself. So the soul has already humbled itself. That's why the soul is saved, because it humbled itself. You don't tell them to humble themselves again and again and again. Yeah, that don't make any sense. The problem again is people see a person, they see him in their flesh doing something in their belly, to make it more simple. And when they're in their belly, then you make the mistake of saying, well, you need to humble yourself. The belly does not know how to humble itself. The belly stays the belly forever. It's going to be the belly. until God gets rid of it. But until then, the belly's there. And so if somebody's acting out in the spirit, they're acting out in the other belly, the belly of living waters. But when someone's acting out in their flesh, you don't have to tell them, hey man, come on, you need to humble yourself a little bit. Like, what you can tell someone is, hey, come on, let's not get into the other belly here, because that's what they're doing. They're getting back into their flesh. But if somebody is debating something with you or whatever, and the debate don't even have to be long, the whole humbling thing, what I'm talking about towards the Bible. Okay. If we're talking about a football game and someone's acting a certain way, and you can say, hey man, you can humble down a little bit. I mean, I can get that, but in the Bible, you don't have to use that word. There's only one time that we humble ourselves, and that's when we become saved. After that, God's got it from there. So he doesn't need you to remind somebody to be humble. And no, he doesn't. I promise. God loves them more than you do. I promise he does. So let the Spirit deal with it, and the Spirit will deal with it. The Spirit will deal with it. That's a guarantee. So
are we able to go through saints?
Example?
Like the term, I guess, saints, just in general. Like how we are made saints through Christ.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Bro, he just took you to Revelations.
No, I
trying
didn't.
to take you to. Yeah, you are,
No,
CJ. You know you are. You just went right from the Old Testament to the end.
Old Testament. Hold on. I got something for us. Hold on. Okay. So Daniel 7 is actually the first mention of the word saint.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
And like a saint, the definition, it's a noun. A person acknowledged as holy or virtuous and typically regarded as being in heaven after death. And then secondly, it's a very virtuous, kind, or patient person. And then biblical definition. So that's the worldly definition. The biblical definition, the word saint comes from the Greek word hagios, which means consecrated to God, holy, sacred, or pious.
Yeah.
And so in Daniel 7, you see in the first year, Belshazzar, king of Babylon, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and visions in his mind as he lay on his bed. Then he wrote the dream down and related the following summary of it. And then you have 15 through 27 where he talks about that. I'm going to read it. As for me, Daniel, my spirit was distressed within me, and the visions in my mind kept alarming me. I approached one of those who were standing by and began asking him the exact meaning of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are 4 in number, are 4 kings. We'll skip that. Okay, so then 18. But the saints of the highest one will receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, for all the ages to come. And then in verse 21, I kept looking, and that horn was waging war with the saints and overpowering them until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was passed in favor of the saints of the highest one. And the time arrived when the saints took possession of the kingdom. Thus he said, the 4 beasts will be on the fourth beast will be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth and tread it down and crush it. Let's see if we see any more saints in that. Okay, so that's what Daniel 7 says about the saints. And so
so in a nutshell, it says what about the saints exactly?
As far as that goes, for Daniel, is saying that the beast would overtake them, but they will be, They will have the kingdom. The kingdom is theirs, essentially. That's what.
Yeah. So
that's
who are
that's
the
the carnal
who are the
nowadays. That.
yeah? So who are the saints?
Those who, in this specific passage.
Period. Who's the saints? Period.
Those who are in Christ.
So those who are saved are saints.
Yep.
Yeah.
Consecrated.
Yeah.
Set apart.
Yeah. The same can be seen in the other visions given in regarding to the last days, Zechariah 14:5, and then the idea of the word saint is a group of people set apart for the Lord and His kingdom. There are 3 references referring to godly character of saints, that you receive her in the Lord in a manner worthy of the saints, Romans 16:2, and then for the equipping of the saints for the work of service to the building up of the body of Christ, Ephesians 4:12, and then Ephesians 5:3. But immortality or any impurity or greed must not even be named among you, as is proper among the saints. And so, therefore, scripturally speaking, the saints are the body of Christ, Christians, the church. All Christians are considered saints. And to the church of God in Corinth, to those sanctified in Christ Jesus and called to be holy. So that is being a saint, to be holy. Sanctified and holy come from the same Greek word as saints. Root, the same Greek root. That's a brief overview. So according to Scripture, the saints of Revelation are whoever God has made holy. Would that not be all of us? The question is where we are.
So you did take us to Revelation.
We did get there because that's where saints are mentioned also.
No, we didn't get there. That's where you took us.
Told you.
Listen. Hey, let me say this. Look, I'm being dead serious. When you become very familiar with the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Notice all the phrases, all the words that I tell you. It's like a note. It makes a certain sound, and as soon as that sound is made, a person that is a cunning player of the harp, as soon as that noise is made, it doesn't matter where in the Bible it's made. All of them become highlighted.
Right.
In its entirety in the whole thing. Okay. So I don't care if you're in the book of Daniel and you say a word, Bubba, as soon as you hit a note, I hear the note being played in Revelation. I already know where you're going. Like if I haven't made it evidently clear, like the way that I studied this thing, I mean, they just stick out. I know exactly where they are. This is not a bragging attitude. I'm telling you that you have to get very familiar with this, because that is how the Spirit is able to bring to you where these other very specific words are brought up, why they're brought up, what's the purpose of them being there. Somebody, you try to, not you, but anyone, they try to be slick and they bring up a certain, they're like, oh, well, we're way over here. We're not in the book of Revelation. The whole thing is one book. The whole thing. It's us that is doing our best to like categorize and put chapters and verses so we can all of us can at least get to the same spot, But the way he wrote it, the way it's written, so, but.
But I do see a lot of confusion as far as, some people, I guess, that like to say the church is not anywhere once we get there. And I'm like, we are the church. We are the saints.
Yeah. I just happen to look down, and I don't know this person, Ann and Adrian. says, may I interrupt for a quick prayer? Enemy is trying to play with me and I'm using my authority, but he keeps coming. The enemy keeps coming. And I don't know who you are. Are you talking about Satan? I mean, because you are saying enemy. Is that what you're talking about?
I think she's facing spiritual warfare, brother, from my interpretation of her message.
Do you know who that is?
Actually, no, I haven't seen her before, I don't think.
Yeah, she's been on a couple of Matrix's live.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. We got 30 minutes. Hey, misunderstood. Who was right there? Who was next to you? I don't remember who was right there.
Flip.
Flip popped off?
Yes.
Oh, he got to go to work? The Flippinator. He had to go to work or what?
Probably watching
so.
his
It's
car.
7:30.
It's
7:30 out here. He's probably watching this car. You're bad.
Oh my!
Dre's stupid, bro.
I'm not lying.
Dre hopped on that one quick. Nah, bro. He probably watched this. He watched the white walls, bro.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Look at what Unc said.
Flipping out.
And let me.
She says she's an expert, and she says she's an ex-Satanist.
Who is? Who's an ex-Satanist?
Anna.
So she used to practice the other, and I believe, from what I'm gathering now, is that she has basically figured it out, brother. And now she's being tormented.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So in the book of James, now, Anna, I'll do what?
I said, gotta fill that house.
Gotta fill that house.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, Anna, just so you know, none of us up here are taking the messages you sent. We're not taking it lightly. We just, somebody left the room, and every chance we get, we try to pick on each other. So don't think for a second that we're disregarding what you said. And what's funny is I usually don't look at my phone. Dre always says I just talk with my eyes closed, but I just so happen to grab my phone and see your comment there. And I don't think it's anything wrong at the moment to talk about warfare. So matter of fact, we'll probably take it there. Probably for the remainder of the show. And I'll say this, and Anna, if you want to DM me, you can. I'm sure you can DM anybody here. I don't know you, but the majority of people here seem like they might know of you. If you want to DM me, you can. But as far as warfare goes, if it's true, if you've been a Satanist or whatever that is, so we need to talk about warfare, I guess, just for a little bit. And you might want to go put your steel toe boots on, whoever you are that does not have them, because I am known as the toe stomper. Number one, the war is over. Just let that sink in just for a second. The war is over. So when you say the phrase, the war is over, if you've been taught wrong, the first thing that popped in your head is, no, it's not. That's the first thing that popped in your head. No, it's not. The war's not over. No, it's not. I'm telling you right now, yes, it is. And that's why your war's not over. which means you're trying to fight a war by yourself. The war is over. Christ won that war. He's already become unalive and resurrected. He defeated death. You know, I had somebody tell me one time that that what kind of God could die, you know, and they're talking about the gatekeeper, right? The green reaper, the dark man that holds the sickle, right? Ready to reap death. And then they have like a picture of the reaper with the sickle in hand, right? And like Jesus on the cross, and the reaper's like, yeah, he's mine, right? And then I'm like, bro, do y'all not read the Bible? It said that Jesus resurrected. So what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, so if you want to have fun with it, fine, let's have fun with it. So Jesus's body becomes unalive, and then the reaper becomes unalive, because the true nature of God is a spirit that lives inside of a soul. And this spiritual entity unalived death and then resurrected himself and made sure that his disciples and hundreds of other people saw him resurrect, and nobody could believe it, right? Because how can you defeat death? So death, where is thy sting? So death has been unalived. Death is not real any longer. So when you see someone become unalived, the thing you're missing is the flesh part of us is not the Son of God. When our body becomes renewed, that will be the Son of God. The flesh, the body that you're in right now, is not the Son of God. The born again part of you, the spirit of you, that's the Son of God. The war is over. You need to understand what the war was. The war is over. Jesus said it is finished on the cross. So either it is or it's not finished. If it's not finished, then okay, fine. Fine, the war's not over then. But if it is finished, like he said, then the war is over. Well, I was trying to bring up Jessica. I was trying to bring you up. Let me see. Good morning.
Which that ties into where Jesus was talking to the disciples about the Lazarus being asleep or something like that, right? Versus and them understanding him being dead or sick.
Yeah, well, Lazarus is definitely a shadow of a lot of things. I'm really just focusing and pointing out. There she goes.
Right.
Jess, what's going
I
on?
was meaning the spiritual interpretation of death versus what we think of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Dre, also about generational curses. Once we come to Christ, those are broken as well. No.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well. Okay.
But how do you explain certain things that happen to certain people?
Like
because
what? Like
okay,
what?
so I have heard. Now, granted, I will say this is all hearsay, but people, well, you've seen videos, you've heard of things that people seeing these entities, seeing these spirits of ungodliness. So, trust me, I know what the word says. I know that. But people always want to say, well, I know I have said try, and if I'm wrong, please correct me right now.
Yeah.
We have to understand that there's both. If we believe in God, how we say we do, then the word speaks about the other. So it has to make sense. You understand what I'm saying? So
well, no, not yet. Not yet.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
you're good. So you're saying if God exists, then Satan exists, or what? What are you saying?
Correct.
Okay, let me ask you this: what drove you to say that?
What?
Like,
Oh
yeah,
well,
like
no.
what was
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
what was I saying to where you're like, well, hold on, Satan's real? Like, what is it that I said that made you say, oh, I need to make sure everybody knows that Satan's real?
No. You did not say anything. I'm saying
Yeah.
what the world says. That's what I'm referencing. What you said has nothing. It's based upon her comment that she made and her thinking the way that she's thinking. And people always say it's the knowing both, because you know how the book of Job, when God and the fallen one had the conversation, how you cannot kill him, do anything you want, you know, and that's what I'm stating. And if
Okay, so
I'm
let's yeah, no, you're fine. Let's
okay,
talk about Job. So tell me again what happened in Job?
I'm paraphrasing. Why you
No, no,
got me
no,
on the
no, no.
spot? Oh,
No,
okay.
no, no, no. It's okay. Trust me. Trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I
He's
tell
going
you it's
somewhere. He's
okay.
going somewhere,
Job
sister.
had.
Okay.
So my
Sorry.
question is, so just go back to the part of Job and just be honest and tell me what you were saying about Job. Why'd you bring up Job?
Okay, well, in the conversation with Job, between God and the fallen one, when he said, when he was roaming through and fro to find someone to destroy,
Right. Okay.
and God mentioned, "Have you?" Basically, I'm not saying it verbatim, everyone,
Right. No,
but
you're good.
knowing that you can test my servant Job. And Satan stated, or the evil one stated, well, there's a protection around him. And
Okay.
so, with all intents and purposes, okay, um, you can go ahead and test him. Only thing you cannot do is kill him.
Right.
And so then all of these things came thrust upon him very rapidly.
Right.
And even his wife wanted him to denounce the Lord, but he never would. And his
Right.
friends he said that he did something wrong, and he didn't. He
Right.
stayed true. And
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying. So if
Okay,
my
but
interpretation
but
is
yeah,
incorrect,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. So what are you saying about that? I understand that you just told us what the Bible says about Job. I get that, but you're bringing it up for a reason. What is the purpose?
well, in regards to her comment, how saying she's being tormented,
Okay.
that's the only reason, brother. It wasn't nothing else.
But I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why you're bringing up Job.
Oh, well, no.
Help me.
I'm sorry. In regards to both sides, in regards to loving the Lord and knowing that God is real and He exists and we are spirit, and the
Okay.
other side of the coin. That's why.
No, but I need you to tell me. I don't understand what you're saying. What you brought up Job for a reason, but you're not telling me why you brought it up. All you did was read the story. I have a Bible. I've read that, but I need you to tell me why you brought it up. There's a reason you brought up Job.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, Ann. Yeah, give me a second, Ann. I really want to understand what Misunderstood is saying.
I'm saying is that I was trying to explain what Anna was saying in the comments to give us a similar type of context, because I started off stating that she's feeling tormented because of of her previous lifestyle, and I've stated that I have stated before that people have to understand, and I asked you if I'm wrong, correct me, that
Yeah.
there's both sides, there's good and evil.
Okay, so you were just bringing up the story of Job to show that there's good and evil?
For a better explanation, I mean, maybe it was the wrong story to choose, but
I
it was
don't.
just
Oh.
in regards to the warfare. Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Okay, so are you saying the reason you brought up Job was because, and you got to understand it is important, okay, that I'm understanding what you're saying. Are you
Yes.
saying you brought up Job because you see a man where God and Satan are like they're having a conversation about a man? I mean, I need to know what you mean.
Yes.
Or better yet, explain to me how you see that story. How about that? How do you see this story of Job? Explain to me how you see this.
I
We can
see
get
it.
to. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking just to explain how you see it.
Exactly how you stated it
How?
when you indicated in regards to a man and Satan and the Lord. That's exactly how my interpretation of that.
Okay.
Of that book.
Just so I'm clear, go ahead and tell me. Tell me how you see it. Just so I'm clear on how you're seeing this.
Okay. As I stated prior, it's in regards to when he came, as I explained in the story, and maybe I'm not going to articulate it correctly, but
Yeah.
I know the story. So, and I know that there's more to it now, but that's how I interpreted the story when they were
How?
basically both having a conversation, and he
Okay.
said, "Test my servant Job." So the Lord, God, the fallen one, and then there's Job.
Okay. So what does that mean? Test my servant. What are you? Explain to me what that means.
Test my to see if you can shake his faith. Can
Okay.
have
All right. Okay.
him denounce me.
Okay. All right. So you see the story of Job as God going to a human and telling Satan, test his faith. That's how you see that story.
That's
right?
how I used to see it. I'm
Okay.
digging deeper now, but I'm not there yet. So I'm going to leave it with what I thought it was. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So a majority of people, that's exactly how they see it. And there's people today that will tell you, they'll bring up the story Job and they'll say, see, and they'll literally get you to see or believe that this is how God and Satan interact with us.
So
That Satan.
May I? Sorry.
Yeah, Anna, go ahead.
So for me, the story, and by the way, I just want to say, thank you for before, misunderstood. I'm trying to add you, misunderstood, but it's not letting me. But because I'm on my iPad, I'm usually on my phone. But once you started speaking, who was doing speaking before? I don't see the little light up thing.
That's me. That was me.
Oh, but no, before you, what is that, Trot?
This is Trot. Me and Misunderstood.
Oh, okay.
We're the two speaking.
Okay, I couldn't tell. Yeah. So Trot, like when you were speaking, I just I really appreciate what you said, because then it kind of just hit me, and then that's why I was just kind of like, man, like I forgot like who I was, and then I felt this feeling of peace over me, and I think the Holy Spirit was just like coming to me and letting me know, like, just because basically what's happening right now is,
well, let me ask you this real quick. What gave you peace?
What gave me peace was that, like, I knew that I had the authority, like I know that, but yet the enemy is like, he's sneaky, and it's like, how do I put it? He's using like my past, and he's continuing to try to bring people to me to basically like try and change my faith and say, well, you were this, so like how can you believe in this now? And because I'm unshakable at this point, and because I'm like, this is what I believe, you can't change my mind, I feel like the enemy is just continuing to try and bring people in my life to bring up my past and to use that against me. And I'm like, I'm reborn, I'm not that same person. And I keep, like, I'll, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And like yesterday, he attacked me hard and I was like broken down. And today I felt a little bit of that too, but I started praying, praise music and praying. And then, this person, and a couple other people kept, continuing to come at me, trying to, just get me to go back to how I was, or say that I'm so closed-minded and that I don't understand what it's like to be without God. And I've been without God for 25 years, and I've never been happier since I've come to God. And they can't accept that, so they continue to attack me for it.
All right.
And I know it's not them.
Yeah.
And
Anna,
I know
who's they? Who's they?
It's this app, and it's also people of my past. It's people who I used to, and I've deleted them, and I deleted my old Facebook. But I had, as soon as I publicly like put on my Snapchat, like the fact that like I came to God, like all of a sudden, like that's when it was like, bam, stuff started happening. More.
Yeah. So let me say something about the story. Or let me ask you. Have you read the story of Job before?
I haven't finished it. I've read part of it, and what the story of Job does is that it actually, and for me, I feel like, misunderstood. I'm actually glad that she brought up the story of Job, because it resonates with me, because that's how I feel. I feel like you cannot like take what God has given me, like God has given away from me. You can't take that. But the enemy continues to try. And sometimes I get upset, not at that person, but I get upset at the enemy, because it's like, bro, like, why, like, do you not get it? Like, do you not understand who I am now? And I'm wondering, am I not using the right scripture? Am I not like, saying the right words to like
show
get
you.
him to back off?
Yeah. Okay. So So in the book of James, it tells us to resist the devil and he will flee. What does that mean to you?
To me, that means like resisting the flesh is, when he comes, knowing who, like that, it's him.
But who's the devil? Who's the devil?
Satan.
Okay, so it's talking about resisting Satan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's it. That's in every aspect, right? So whether it's a thought that that it's not your thought, or anything that has to do with him, anything, all of it. It says resist him. Whose responsibility is it to resist?
That's mine.
It's ours, humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he's resisted, what happens?
He has to flee.
He flees. Okay, so resist the devil and he will flee. So the responsibility is ours. That has to be understood. This is not one of those. This is not one of those. You stop doing that so you can be good speech. That's not what this is. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to put everything in context. So in the Bible in its entirety, the biggest number one context to a believer is resist the devil and he will flee. Mm-hmm. So if he hasn't fled, it's because we are not resisting him. It's that simple. Now,
I thought that I was.
No. Hear me out, because I'm getting somewhere.
Oh, sorry.
So when I say it's simple, I'm not using the right word. Let me say, it's not simple. It's easy. The explanation is easy, but it's not simple. Okay. But I want to make sure that we stay with that truth, because that is the truth. No matter if it's hard or not, that is still the truth. The truth doesn't change. It is our responsibility to resist. Number one, period, the end. Mm-hmm. Now, to the story of Job, or let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you can say that is a spiritual thing in the Bible that you have seen?
My son, who had a
no, not your son, in the Bible. The Bible.
What
is there some
that relates to me?
Yeah. Is there something in the Bible mm-hmm. that you have saw, understood, and it's a spiritual thing happening inside the Bible, but it doesn't look like it's a spiritual thing? Is there anything that you've read in the Bible so far that you can say is a spiritual thing, but it doesn't look like a spiritual thing? Anything?
I don't.
No. Okay. Have you ever heard anyone say that the dove in the Bible represents the Spirit?
I have not.
You haven't heard that?
I'm a baby, by the way.
No, that's fine. No, that's why I'm asking you this way. No, that's fine. So, how long have you been saved?
Let's see, actually 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, when Jesus was baptized by mm-hmm. John the Baptist, it mm-hmm. says that the Spirit in the shape of a dove came mm-hmm. from heaven and went inside of him, and he received the Spirit. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't already have the Spirit. You can read Scripture and tell that he already had the Spirit, right. But the depiction had to happen this way. And I don't have time to explain that right now, but the depiction of this had to happen. So when people see that, they're like, wait a minute. So the dove, like the dove is like a spirit or what? Well, the reason that it is, and it goes all the way back to Noah's Ark, where Noah sent out a dove, okay? But in a very weird way, the Bible describes to us the dove being like the shape, or the Spirit being like the shape of a dove. And so the reason, have you not seen Bibles or signs, Christian signs, and there's always a dove there? Have you never seen that?
Like looking outside and then just like seeing like a dove? No,
like you go to Walmart or somewhere and there's a book, like a Christian book, and there's a dove on it. Like there's symbolism. Christians try to use the dove to like symbolize the Spirit. You've never seen that anywhere?
Honestly, no.
No? Okay. Well, do what?
Is that a bad? Oh no.
I said she's about to.
No. So, well, no, she already has. I'm going over it now.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, but I thought like for me, like when I read about like Jesus being baptized, like I read in pictures. So like, for example, like when I read the story, that story, like, and it talks about the sky opening up, like that's the vision that I like see. And then the story of them, when, they're in the storm and he's like, be still. Me, when I read that, I pictured myself in the boat and Jesus was on his iPad and he was like, dude, like relax. And then I was like, okay, this is above my pay grade,
Okay.
So it's like, I don't necessarily see things. I see things more visually.
Okay. So let me hop to one.
Okay, go ahead.
No, let me hop to another one. Okay,
and
now this one may be
for sidetracking whatever you guys were talking about. If you ever want to move, it's okay.
No, you can. No, we record all of our lives, and at approximately 9:30 Central Time, I think I made the statement at least twice that that we can start talking about something else. So when I looked down and saw the comment you made, we're literally about to start talking about something else. So
Okay,
if we were on a topic, I would have just told you to DM me or somebody else, and I'd have left it at that, and I would have continued on the topic. But let me say this real quick. All right. Okay. So has anyone shown you? Obviously no. All right. So
Wait,
let me go
first.
to. Huh? Do what?
Ask first.
Do what now?
No, I was gonna say you can ask
her first. What she's saying, but ask her.
Oh, ask. Well, I've already asked a couple of times, so let me just do it this way. So I go over this one a lot, and I go over this one a lot for a reason. Mm-hmm. So you at least know the story of Moses, mm-hmm. right? Okay. So everywhere Moses went, he had a staff with him, mm-hmm. right? Okay. We know that God gave him this staff. God gave it to him. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Are you the same person where somebody was saying that you used to be, what did you used to be? I make sure you're the same person.
Who is saying that to me?
No. Somebody either verbally said, or it was in a chat that you had a very specific background, something you used to do.
Verbally,
yes, that was me
as well.
So, okay. So what was it? What did you used to be or do?
I used to be an ex-Satanist.
Okay, Satanist. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Let me ask you this. Just based on how humans see God, okay? Mm-hmm. Why did God give Moses a staff to do miracles, quote unquote? Why? I'm not asking because I'm literally expecting you to give me an answer. Right. I'm trying to get you to ask the question in your head. For what reason? Because if God is almighty, if mm-hmm. God is almighty and he's just like this Zeus and he does whatever he wants, couldn't he just start snapping his fingers and making all these things happen? Why did a man have to be given a stick in order for these things to happen?
I think because as humans of this earth, people who are living of the earth, they need, it was a symbol for I don't know, maybe the proof that they needed, or they needed, and God.
I said, an answer doesn't have to be given now, okay. But it is a very relevant question. It's a question that a person that has a contrite heart towards God is going to ask. Lord, why did you have to give him a stick? So either way, he does give him a stick though. So the question is still hanging, but why? So Moses goes to Pharaoh. He's got a stick in his hand. And the Pharaoh's magicians, they have 2 sticks. They come. And all 3 of them throw their rods down. First, Moses did. He threw his rod down and it became a serpent. Mm-hmm. And then the magicians, they threw their rods down and their sticks became serpents. So there's 3 serpents, 1 from Moses and 2 from the magicians of Pharaoh. Mm-hmm. And Moses' serpent eats the other 2 serpents. Mm-hmm. And when Moses picks the serpent up, it turns back into a rod in his hand. So what you see is Moses came because in the Old Testament, the rod represented authority. That's what it represents. You said that you see things as depictions and pictures. Mm-hmm. So let's put some pictures together. Okay. So Moses came in the authority of God, and the magicians came in the authority of Satan. That's the depiction here. But when Moses picked up the rod after his rod or his serpent ate the other 2 serpents, there was only one authority left, and it was God's authority. Correct? Are you with me so far?
I'm with you.
Okay. And so he tells Pharaoh, let my people go. And of course, Pharaoh says no. So when you go further in the story right after this, there's 10 plagues. So basically he says, let my people go. Pharaoh's like, nah, dude, not going to happen. So he's like, all right. So he takes the staff And I'm not going to do them in order because it doesn't matter. But he takes the staff and he hovers it over the waters, and the water becomes blood. Mm-hmm. But you know what we see? We see the staff doing it again. Mm-hmm. So the staff ate the serpents. The staff turned the water into blood. And then he goes to Pharaoh and said, hey, let my people go. And Pharaoh said, nah. He's like, all right. So he takes the staff and he puts it in, and the staff causes frogs and mosquitoes and crickets to like just cover all the people that's in Egypt. Yeah. And he says to Pharaoh, hey, come on now, let my people go. He's like, nah, bro, ain't gonna happen. So 10 plagues happen. A plague being all the water turning into blood. A plague being frogs and all these things coming out of the water. 10 of these things happen, and every one of them happen because of the rod. Mm-hmm. So if God is just all so powerful, the way people misunderstand, why did he have to use a rod? These are the kind of questions, but these are the kind of questions that people need to ask themselves. Slow down, and start asking questions. Why? Why are these things happening this way? So basically what you end up seeing is Moses is not doing any of the miracles. It's the rod.
Yeah, or the rod, yeah.
Right. Okay, so further along we go. Okay. Finally, because of all these plagues, Pharaoh's like, dude, you and your people get the heck out of here. So he's like, all right, peace. So they roll out and they end up at this big the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. And Moses turns around and noticed that the Egyptians are coming after them. Right. So Pharaoh, sitting there having negative thoughts for a long time, gets mad and says, nah, I'm gonna go unalive all these people. They're not gonna just sit here and cause this catastrophe. And nah. So Moses goes to God and starts crying, and he's like, hey man, these people gonna come over here and try to kill me. And you know what God tells him? He says, why are you crying to me? Now, that's funny because that don't sound like the same God that everybody else brags about.
No, it doesn't.
That's funny. I wonder why people don't talk about that part. Let me ask you this. Based on what we've went over so far, why would God tell Moses, why are you crying to me?
Because he's already given him the authority. And in
the form of a what?
In the form of the rod or staff.
So is it too much to ask from God for us to believe that he's already given us something? Is that too much to ask?
We don't have to ask. We already have it.
But first you have to ask if you don't have it.
Right.
So if you ask,
it's not too much. Because if you ask,
is that too much to ask? Okay, so why did he tell Moses, why are you crying to me about Pharaoh?
Because he already knew that he could defeat him, and by using the authority that he had already, he was in.
But here, Moses did cry out to God. Why? Why do you think he did that?
Because you have to pray.
Because he was scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was scared while he was already holding something God gave him. So God had to remind him. And he said, why are you crying to me? Take the rod and stick it over the water.
Come on now.
So Moses, like, oh yeah, my bad, I forgot. So he goes to the water and he puts the staff over the water. And this is the story that we hear of, parting of the Red Sea. So the water parted because of the staff, not because of Moses.
Yeah.
So further along in the Bible, all the people get mad at Moses and Aaron. And they say, hey, we can talk to God too. And Moses said, really? I'll tell you what, every man of the household, like the main man, because every one of these main men had a rod. He said, I want every one of y'all to give me y'all's rods. And they all were marked. They had everybody's name on it. And he said, we'll know who hears from God based on me gathering all the rods. So the next morning, Aaron's rod, which is Moses' brother, his rod budded almonds because he was the high priest. So it was shown who had the authority. Aaron did, because his rod budded almonds. So all these people that were mad about them hearing God, their rods didn't bud anything. So further along we go, and we hear about a man named David. He's the one that fights Goliath. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I like him.
So David is with Saul the king because he's already claimed that he's going to unalive Goliath. He's already made the claim already. And so the armor was given to David. David puts on Saul's armor, and then he takes them off, and he says, hey, nah, man, I don't know how to use this stuff.
Right.
And as soon as he takes it off, the first thing he grabs, because what's the story say how he unalives Goliath? Do you remember how he unalived him?
The stone.
Yeah, he threw a stone at his head with a sling. Yeah. But you don't hear a lot of people mention that the first thing he grabs before he goes to fight Goliath is his staff, his rod.
You're right. I think about the stone first.
Yeah, everybody does. So in the Bible, the thing that seems most insignificant, a lot of the times is the most significant part of the story. So he takes the authority of God with him. That's how he was able to defeat Goliath. You understand?
Yep.
Okay. Further, and I'm just kind of hopping around, but, going back to Moses, there was a battle that was taking place between God's people and some other people, and Moses tells Joshua, one of his buddies, right? He's like, hey, I'm going to take the rod and I'm going to go up the mountain. So notice that at this point, Moses is starting to get the drift here. So he takes the rod, he goes up to the mountain, he tells Joshua, I'm going to hold it up during the battle, basically, so we can win. So he goes to the mountain, he holds the rod up, but he can't hold it all day because our hands do get tired. Our arms do get tired. And his arms started getting tired. And because of that, the rod started going closer to the ground, and they started losing the battle. So Joshua notices this. He runs up there, and he grabs Moses' hands to help the rod stay up, and they started winning the battle again. And this is shown to us over and over and over. And in Isaiah 11:1, the Bible tells us, talking about David, it says, and a rod will come from the stem of Jesse. Jesse is the father of David. The Bible tells us that the Messiah would come from the lineage of David. But in this scripture here, it says, a rod will come from the stem of Jesse, and on his shoulders will rest the spirit of, and it tells you the spirit of might, the spirit of understanding, and it talks about the spirit resting on the shoulders of this rod. And when Jesus came here, he said, all authority has been given unto me. So what was Moses holding in his hand?
Staff.
Huh?
Staff.
Which is the authority of God, which is a shadow of Christ. So in a very weird way, he was holding Jesus in a very weird way.
That makes sense.
So from the very beginning, Jesus was always the authority, not Moses.
Yeah. He gave Moses the authority.
He gave him the authority. And now, no longer as a depiction, right? This was a shadow, a depiction, a picture of something to see that was to come, and now it is here, and now it's called the iron rod. The iron rod is the spiritual truth of Christ that lives in each one of us. And each one of us has the iron rod, the authority of God. And so when we are quote unquote fearful like Moses and we run to God, you know what he says? Why are you crying to me?
Right.
So when we catch ourselves crying to God, a lot of people, especially Christians, would say, you're supposed to cry to God. I'm like, that's funny. That wasn't God's attitude when Moses cried to him. The problem is everyone thinks after you're saved. So you're supposed to cry out to God when you're not saved. Obviously, you're drowning. But once you're saved and he gives you the authority, why would that person cry out to God? It'd be like you holding an apple in your hand
and asking for another one.
Well, no, asking for the same one.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had one apple in your hand and I said, give me that apple, and you gave it to me and I have it in my hand and I said, hey, give me the apple, you know that you're going to look at me like something's wrong because you just gave it to me, but yet I'm telling you to give it to me still.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
The problem is our eyes can't clearly see. That's the problem. The problem is not Satan on our shoulders. That's a lie. It's not true. The story of Job is not telling us how God treats us. I just went over how God treats us.
Right.
The story of Job is a shadow of Christ. Job's name means persecuted and hated. That's what his name means, because there's only one that was persecuted and hated for our sake. His name is Christ. The reason that God told Satan, don't kill him, is because Jesus was going to be the one that was sacrificed for us.
Right.
Job was a shadow of the servant of God. There's only one servant of God, and that's Christ.
Yep.
That's why the Bible says that God looked for a man and he couldn't find one. So he had to do it. He had to defeat death, him. So when you see Satan in heaven in the Old Testament, the reason you see this is because at that time he had the right to be in heaven. Because when he unalived Adam and Eve in their spirit, he took dominion of this earth. He stood in the position that Adam was supposed to be standing in. He stood there, and he stood there rightfully because Adam gave his dominion to Satan freely. And that's how perfect God is. That even though he doesn't want Satan there, legally he can't remove him because he'd be a liar, and God doesn't lie.
Never.
So Satan had the right to stand right there in front of God because it was the position that was given to Adam, and Satan took that position from Adam by unaliving him in the garden. So when Jesus came, the last Adam, he took that position back, and now Jesus sits on the right hand of the Father, and Lucifer, Satan, whatever you want to call him, the devil, can no longer enter into that place because he no longer has that dominion because it's been taken away from him by Christ.
Yeah.
So if that position has been taken away from Satan, then God and Satan are not toying with the humans.
Nope.
And God saying, test my servant. There's only one servant, and he's already beat the war. The war is over. So what's happening now is the Bible tells us, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The problem is people are not renewing their mind. That's the problem. Sin is not the issue. Satan is not the issue. He's a defeated foe. He's already been defeated. It's before we became saved, our old spirit taught us how to fear Satan. The attitude was always about this bad, evil thing. And because our spirit was not alive, we were in a dark place.
Right.
But when we became saved, the truth has to start entering. We have to start understanding the truth now, because when a person gets saved, they're babies.
Mm-hmm.
They're babies. Excuse me. They're babies in Christ, and now you have to start learning who you are, not who you were, who you are. So,
Identity in Christ.
right, and identity is huge. But identity is not simply seen by people using the word identity. You'll hear people say identity, identity, identity. There's nothing wrong by saying the word identity. We speak English. But if you can't show them who they are in the Old Testament, I'm telling you, it's really hard for people to understand what you're trying to tell them. The reason that I went straight to Moses and I went straight to that rod is because God speaks to us in depictions and pictures in the Old Testament. The reason he does this is because he understands that our physical body does see things this way.
Right.
And so he has to talk to us the way he knows that we're going to understand. And this is why it was written this way. So the story about Moses, when you go to a lot of Christians and you ask them if Moses did miracles, 85% of Christians will tell you yes. And that's because they're not understanding that Moses did not do the miracle. It was Christ the whole time.
It's always Christ.
It's always been. So, Anna, if you want to DM me to discuss.
You know what's really fun? Can I share something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's really funny about that is that I was having this recurring dream for a while when I first started like my walk, and it was really scary. And basically what it was is that I was in an auditorium with my husband. Just picture like a huge auditorium, right? There's a bunch of people there, and there's like a small circular stage in the middle. And in the middle, there is a woman there who is, possessed, right? And so everyone around is freaking out and just like terrified. And then I had all of a sudden this huge smile on my face. And I took my husband with my left hand and I pushed him behind me. And then all of a sudden everything like went in slow motion. And everybody who was in the auditorium they started to separate, and then they made a path, and the path was leading directly to this woman. And the closer that I got to her, I, again, was just filled with joy and was filled with, don't worry, I got this. Then I took my right hand and reached behind and pulled out a small gold sword. And I got close to her. I put my left hand right on her head. She was mocking me, saying all this stuff. And then I took the sword and I, put it through her. And then a voice
Where did you put it through her at?
Her head.
In her head?
Yeah. And then
from the front or from the side?
From underneath.
Underneath. Okay.
So then that happened, right? And nothing happened to her. She started to laugh, and then a voice, came and said, like through her and was like, you think that you can, run away from what you did? You think that you're saved now? You think that you're okay now? You think that like you're better now? And I had this same dream over and over and over again for a very long time. And then the last time that I had this dream, it started off the same, but this time the ending, when it pierced her, there were two voices. And the first voice said, again, was mocking and saying, who do you think that you are? He can't save you. you're still mine. And there was the other voice, and it said, she belongs to me now. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, I heard there was just this growl, like this angry, deep, like growl, and then this like everything like went like light, and I like it was like it like the whole vision itself, like it was like I started to like back up, like I was like sucked out of the picture, and then woke up, and then I've never had that dream since. And then, you know, I asked my pastor about it because I was like, this is weird. But then it made, but then I remember reading about, having the armor of God. And to me, that was God's way of telling me about the authority, and that, the enemy was trying to use this dream to make me feel as if I'm not good enough. But because I kept growing in my faith, I kept growing with God, and kept, building that relationship with Him, and realizing that, no, I am not that same person anymore. And God, and I haven't had that dream since. And before, it was really, really scary. I would wake up like sweating and just overwhelmed. And then now it's gone. So it's funny that you're mentioning this about like the staff and all of this, because it's like that, dream that I had, is very similar. Like the way that I felt in that moment, and I still like have that feeling of the dream, where I felt so like strong. I felt so like, I mean, there was like no fear. There was no fear. There was no like anything. And then when I got up to the person and they started mocking me, then I wasn't scared, but I was confused. And then when it happened the last time, I wasn't confused anymore. I felt like it was like it came to a conclusion, like that it was like done. Does that make sense?
Well, no, it is done, because Jesus said on the cross, it is finished. So what happens is the carnal mind, our flesh, gets the best of us. So those are the battles that people talk about. So yes, there is this battle, right, when it comes to spiritual things, but those are us who are making choices on how we're going to handle the battles. But don't be deceived. The war is over. Christ has already won the war. He's already given you everything you need to defend yourself in these battles. So the armor of God is very important. And the one thing I'll add to that is the washing of the feet is done by us to one another. And it's not about washing your physical feet. You don't need to sit here in front of me while I take a basket of water and wash your feet. Okay, it's not year 0 or year 1 where we're having tents and wearing sandals and have dust on our feet all day. That's
I
not
do that for my husband though every day. Like I wash his feet. Is that like a bad thing?
No, it's you can do whatever you want. You can wash his feet with Kool-Aid if you want to, right? We all can do whatever we want, but it's very important to understand what the Bible is telling us to do. It's not telling us to wash people's physical feet. Okay? What it's telling us to do is to wash each other's spiritual feet. That's the whole point of the armor of God. So watch this. If you go over the armor of God and someone says, "All right, I just put on the armor of God," are you going to see armor that they put on?
No.
Okay, so the keep, it says put on the helmet, put on the breastplate, the sword. What does it say about feet? Do you remember?
The feet are, hold on, I know this. I know it. With the helmet of salvation, right?
Yeah,
and
salvation.
Breastplate of righteousness.
Right.
The sword is the word.
Okay.
Am I getting close? And then the feet are, um, the hold on, give me a second. Come on, I know that. Sorry, I forgot. Man, yeah, I don't remember the feet. I was so close.
Yeah, the feet is.
Peace,
it says keep the
peace.
feet. Yeah, but it says keep the feet shod. It's talking about putting sandals on your feet for the gospel of peace. So let me. So if you just picture a soldier, like a Roman, so I'll just use a Roman. He's got a helmet on. You know, he's got body armor on, right? He's got a sword.
I used to be in the military, so that I that's how I kind of like see.
Oh, you were?
See it.
What's your
10
what was your
years,
MOS?
mortuary affairs specialist. I was going to be a chaplain, but I worked closely with chaplains, and my job was to bring the boys home either whole or.
What's the numerics for that? What is that?
It's 92 Mike.
92 Mike.
Yeah.
I was at 11 Bravo for a long time.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was amazing. Great time. But
yeah.
So
my favorite people.
Do what?
My favorite people, man.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. So the reason why I'm bringing the feet up is because, you know, you just picture a soldier back in the day with sandals on. You know what I mean? So today, the armor of God, you cannot see the armor of God. So the feet, the Bible tells us, it says, how beautiful are their feet who preach the gospel of peace. How beautiful are their feet? Why is it saying how beautiful are their feet? Why does it say that?
Oh, hold on 1 second. My dog is going crazy. 1 second.
No, you're good. She got the chocolato on them.
Yeah.
Borrow some of Jess's chocolatos.
Let me.
yeah. Give me a second, and then get out of here.
What's wrong with you? Stupid dog.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, man? This whole time, my dog has been right here, and he hasn't misbehaved like the entire life.
Mine too. Which
I'm like, bro,
like up running around.
Like I don't know, 60-70% of the time he does something. I guarantee you, if we go through the lives, you'll hear me say, "Hey, can you stop that?"
Yeah.
He's always doing something. She dropped. Well, she dropped.
She dropped.
Yeah, she dropped. It's all right. Anna, I'll give you a minute or so to try to come back in. If not, you can DM me. There she goes. Maybe she's having a bad connection or something.
Okay, sorry.
Anna,
I'm
you
back.
there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to switch devices on you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, what I was going to say is we normally run to 10 o'clock Central Time. It's already approximately 10:30, so we are 30 minutes past. And
okay.
and it's, you know, it's just weird. You know, it is what it is. We were pretty much done talking about Leah and Rachel, and I just so happened to see the comment you made, and I was hoping, you know, we can get done in 30 minutes, but it's been about an hour. But that doesn't mean try you were 30 minutes late. that's fair. Boy, kid don't miss a beat, man. All right, that's fair. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to be quiet on that one. That's true. I did run a little late today. So okay. So technically we're on time. So I'll detract or dedact the last statement, please. But Anna, if you wanna DM me about anything further, we can DM back and forth. Our lives are Monday through Friday. 7:30 to 10 o'clock is usually the time. Okay. But I know Dre. The reason why Dre hopped out the way he did is he didn't want to be rude and interrupt. Because usually he'll say, "Hey, I'm going to bounce." But Monday, and I was going to say this before we got off, Monday will be our first day of a consistent 2-a-days. So the live will be from 7:30 to 10, and anywhere between somewhere around 3 or maybe 4 will be the second live, and we'll probably get off around 6. I am talking Central Time.
Okay.
So we'll start doing that Monday.
Do you have like is there a way that like do you like have like a subject of what you're gonna have beforehand, so I could have like Bible like on hand?
Well, I can. Well, no, I really don't like titles, and sometimes you have to put a title on. I really don't like them, to be honest with you. It kind of. I'll explain another day why I really don't like titles,
okay.
but I'll say this. What we do is we talk about Jesus. That's what we do. Okay. And we wash people's feet that need to be washed. And so, we don't really have topics, but obviously every once in a while there will be a topic, just so someone at least has an idea like what we're going over or what we're going to be talking about. But the majority of the time, we just hop in the Old Testament and we talk about shadows of Christ, just like we did with Moses' staff. Okay. So, so anyway, like I said, 7:30 to 10 o'clock Central Time, starting Monday, we'll do 2-a-days. So starting Monday, it'll be twice a day, 7:30 to 10 Central Time, and somewhere around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know, those dates may differ from day to day, but that's around the time that the second live will hop on. And just so you know, obviously, the show is called Descaled, and it's called Descaled for a reason. And if you have to go read Acts 9:18, then go ahead and go read it. But guys, love everybody,
I'll
man.
still be at work as always, Trot. You don't. It's unfair. How can I? It's okay.
What?
I'll have
What
to
do you mean?
Because I'm on the West Coast. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock your time is 1 here.
Okay,
I thought you were going to do evening.
What time do you get off of work?
6 o'clock Pacific. That's 8 for you.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, there may be some days we can do it that late in the
it's
evening.
okay.
But
I'll just get up early. It's okay.
Yeah, but like
I've been getting up early now.
Yeah, but like I
said,
said,
for the past 2 days.
So look, all that we'll still be playing that by ear. But there's a reason that I can only do it at certain times, right? So, but either way, we'll be doing it two a day, either way, and hopefully, misunderstood you. And there's a couple more people, like I said, that we are going to have one of the lives. I don't know which one yet, but we will be discussing just mortgages, lenders, things of that nature. Just because it's I understand. Look, I don't believe in talking about soap operas on the live. It's a waste of time for me personally. But we can at least talk about things that we are going to be dealing with, which is buying a house or selling a house and things of that nature. And then Benny, he's big time in nutrition, and I used to be big in it, but when I hurt my back, it makes it a lot harder to work out when you got a hurt back. Let me just throw that out there. But I will say this:
understood.
I've been getting back in it slowly. I'm starting to get a consistent schedule, and I'm gonna be getting back in it myself. That's why I asked Benny to come up. So we're gonna be talking about nutrition on one of the lives. Also, so I just don't know yet which one. But with all that being said, God bless everybody. I'm not sure if I'll go live this weekend. Probably not. That's not really easy for me to do. But yeah, there's Benny. Benny, what up? So I know Benny's been waiting to share, so that's coming up pretty soon. But love you guys, man. I'll see y'all. If I don't see y'all this weekend, I will see you Monday morning, 7:30 Central Time. God bless.
All right, God bless.